For much of this week, you've heard from some of the candidates who want to be the next Bexar County judge. As a matter of fact, we interviewed the three major Democratic candidates earlier this week. You can catch those on KSAT.com. And whoever gets the job succeeds Judge Nelson Wolff, who has held that office for 2 decades.
Joining us now for the KSAT Q&A is Republican Trish DeBerry, formerly the county commissioner for District 3. So we'll start here, Trish. Make your pitch. If you're the next county judge, what are you going to do for the people of Bexar County?
Well, we're going to do a lot, Stefania and Steve. It is so great to be here with you tonight. This was an incredibly difficult decision because I had to give up my seat. But as I talked to my family, my kids, as a single mom and as a business owner in the private sector, and I really love the job as county commissioner, dug into a number of different issues, which were important to me, whether that was property tax relief, whether it was jail overtime, whether that was domestic violence, whether that was, making sure the body camera footage was released in a timely fashion, and we have one of the strictest 10 days. And the elder fraud unit in the DA's office, I appropriated money for positions for prosecutor and investigator that have been vacant for 5 years because we have an aging population and they don't have the luxury of waiting on restitution or prosecution. So when we talk about what I want to do as Bexar County judge, I want to dig in. I want to help to bring this community out of poverty. We've had the same poverty rate since 1982. And I want to lead this community out of a post-COVID environment with big ideas and a bold vision. And I think that's what I brought to the court as a county commissioner. I was a change agent. And I think people want that kind of leadership. They want folks to stand up, represent, make sure we're not wasting money, but also at the same time, moving this community forward.
You talked about how tough this decision was. Obviously, running as a Republican, there are a lot of people that say you already have an uphill battle when that happens, though I can think of some Republican candidates of one statewide race, Sheriff Pomerleau, a few years ago. Yes. It has happened. But do you think it's an uphill battle as a Republican to win a countywide race like Bexar County Judge?
So I think certainly, Steve, look, from a county standpoint, when we look at, what do the demographics look like? And there are a lot of people that will talk all day long about the fact that this is a blue county. But I will tell you that I think it's going to be a very strong year for Republicans. And I think folks are fed up with the current state of affairs, whether it's a 40 to 50% increase regarding prices at the grocery store, whether it's, filling up your tank at the gas pump, and it's $80 to $90 sometimes. And as we look at the invasion, perhaps into Ukraine, we could see gas prices escalate to $6 to $7 a gallon. And then we look at the border issue. There were a lot of problems from a crisis standpoint relative to that. So I think there's some dissatisfaction out there. And so as I looked at the environment and the fact that, look, I think that I've stood up for things that I thought were not just viewed through a correct political filter, but through a view of what is the right thing to do and having backbone to be able to get those things done. Super passionate, obviously, about what I have called a public health crisis in Bexar County, which is the domestic violence issue that we have here. Dedicating resources, making sure as a part of the court that we allocated a record amount of money, $4.4 million. And let me just tell you, I was somewhat dissatisfied with that amount because the DA's office needs more than that. And the courts need more than that because women and children do not need to be living in fear. So those are some of the things why I think there's an opportunity for a Republican to take this seat, and I am going to fight the good fight.
So you mentioned that one of your biggest priorities is at the Bexar County Jail. You listed that just a few minutes ago. Now, we know that the jail has been over budget for years. How are you planning to control that spending? And I'm also going to dovetail this and add this question. How do you address the fact that there is a lot of overcrowding in the jail? It's also a problem because a lot of the people there can't afford to pay for their bail.
Well, agreed. I mean, we've done some good things, I think, when we look at criminal justice reform, and then when we look at how do we think differently about recruitment into the deputy sheriff's office and how do we deal with overtime. I was proud of the fact that I advocated very strongly for a consultant to come in and take an outside perspective view, because that is what you do in the private sector. You benchmark against others who are doing things in an appropriate way. And like I said, I hate to say that I have or what I call a restless discontent with the status quo. But I'm never going to be satisfied with things just operating like I said, status quo. We're not going to rubber stamp those issues. We're going to dig in and we're going to figure it out. And so I look forward to looking at the consultant that I vetted, that I had come forward, that has a great reputation relative to what we can do at the Bexar County Jail. But it's also, look, it's not just about the fiscal conservative nature as a Republican for the overtime issue. It's about humaneness at the jail, not just for deputy sheriffs or cadets that are working in that jail, because they are inhumane conditions when you're working double, triple overtime shifts and you're not seeing your family. It's also about the inmates that are in that jail and due process afforded to them. We've got a record number of deaths in the Bexar County Jail. So there are things that we need to look at really critically and that we need to do differently. But I am super proud of the fact that I have the support and the endorsement, and I had it from day one when I filed for the office of the Deputy Sheriff's Association, because I stood up for them for cost of living allowance increases that they hadn't had for 2 years, because those men and women are putting their lives on the line every single day. I also advocated with the judge, Nelson Wolf, and said, we have got to get this collective bargaining agreement done. Really proud of the fact that we did get it done. They got their COLA increases, and I am incredibly proud to have their support, just as I hope at some point to have the support of the San Antonio Police Officers Association.
All right, we're running out of time here, but I want to give you the final word. If there's somebody out there that's thinking about it, obviously you have to win the Republican nomination, on March 1st first before we move on to the general. We've talked a lot about general election stuff. So what's your message to people who are out there and on the fence about Trish DeBerry tonight?
So I would tell you, Steve, look, I think the thing that distinguishes me the most, not just from my Republican field, but from the Democratic field, is I have private sector experience. I've been a small business owner for the better part of 25 years. I've signed the front of a paycheck and the back of a paycheck. I've had to deal with escalating healthcare insurance premiums every single day. I've had to hire and fire people. I've had to sustain a business during downturns in the economy. And certainly I understand better than anybody what COVID has meant to small businesses and the downturn and the devastation associated with small businesses. So really the Office of County Judge is largely an administrative CEO position. And that's exactly the wheelhouse that I bring to the table. So anyway, I look forward to representing, and I've been very honored to represent and blessed to represent the constituents of Precinct 3. And what I have done in the first year, I fulfilled all my campaign promises in that first year, and I want to represent the entire county in the very same way. So
all right.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here tonight.
All right. Trish DeBerry, thank you so much for joining us, the Republican candidate for Bexar County Judge. Thank you for being with us today. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.